Hey guys, we're back with our next fantasy text-based RPG game, Sryth. Last time we were doing adventures in Telenus. We've run out of those adventures, so I think we're gonna still be in Central Tisa, but we're gonna be um, looking around a little bit more in other areas of this section to see for more adventures. So thanks so much for hanging out and joining me. Let's go. What I do want to do is Epina is at 7%. Okay, never mind. She's not. Why is this thing 7%? Let's travel in Central Tisa. I'm gonna try Moonshore Crossroads. You're standing in front of Moonshore Inn and Tavern, which sits in the center of the famous crossroads that share its moniker. The Moonshore has faithfully served travelers passing through these parts for generations. The merry din emanating from the inn can be heard from a considerable distance away. From here, the King's Path runs north and south, providing direct routes to Telenus and to the south reaches of Tisa. A myriad of lesser roads run into the King's Path at this crossroad. Still in the inn. The Moonshore is a loud, bustling place. Patrons are drinking, singing, laughing, generally carrying on. It's difficult to move around the common room without bumping into people. The tavern servant tells you that the hot meal and a mug of fine ale will cost 2 gold coins. A young lad says Moonshore was the finest ale outside of Salinas. Alright, let's order. Your meal arrives and the young man has brought it to the table, bows politely after sitting down in front of you. Thank him for setting into a small steaming feast. The meal proves to be delicious, and the ale serves with it is dark and creamy. After finishing the food and emptying your mug, stand from the table and make your way back across the common room. Alright, let's take a bit of wandering then. You move out the Moonshore common room, but don't happen upon anything of much interest. Okay, so nothing's going on here right now. Let's go on to the Griffin Crags. The wild expanse of forest north of Goblin Hollow was named long ago for the ancient land of griffins that once made their lairs in there and around its many towering tors and ridges. Okay, so nothing's going on there. Tar Lake. Let's go Tar Lake. Oh, it's with you. You're standing in the southern shore of Tar Lake, a perilous bubbling morass of tar in the midst of the vast region of forest known as the Griffin Crags. Dozens of stone islands thrust their jagged peaks to the thick, black, undulating surface of the deadly tar bog. At its widest point, Tar Lake is nearly a mile across. Staring out over the sinister mire, you spot a tall, sword-shaped pinnacle of rock jutting into the sky out of the very center of the morass. You realize at once that you're looking at the island described to you by the heron back in the West Garden Library. A small stony track runs along the edge of the bog between its southern and western shores. What's the adventure? The Book of Secrets. The man who introduced himself as Alan shows you several nasty gashes along his right side and tells you that he foolishly ventured into a cave in search of a book he knew to be hidden in its depths. Alright. Let's go book hunting. Early one spring afternoon, while exploring the area surrounding Tar Lake, you happen upon a wounded man resting outside the broad, vine-entangled mouth of a cave. The man, who introduces himself as Alan, shows you several nasty gashes along his right side and tells you that he foolishly ventured into the cave in search of a book he knew to be hidden in its depths. He tells you that he was attacked by several armored scavengers while exploring the cave and that he barely made it out alive. When you ask him if he's alright, he nods and says that while he no longer has any desire to go back into the cave to obtain the book, he's willing to tell you how to find it and split you with you the reward its retrieval will earn him. Okay. Alan seems pleased that you've accepted his offer. He meets you in a shoulder cross and tells you that while evenly splitting with you the reward he receives when he presents the book to the man who hired him for the task. He's somewhat surprised to learn that Alan already acquired the book during his excursion into the cave, but during the desperate struggle from the 4 armored scavengers, he somehow lost the object of his mission. I believe it must be at the edge of the large pool very deep in the cave. That's what the scavenger set upon me. I also lost my small pack. You can find the pack as well. I'd be very grateful. The young man describes for you the location of the pool to which he just referred, telling you that it's at the far eastern end of the cave. You ask the line to describe the books. He tells you a small, thin journal with worn leather cover. He tells you that he found it locked in a stone chest not far from the pool he previously mentioned. Locks aren't much problem for me, he says, winking. The scavengers, or whatever it is they're probably called, or something else entirely. I'm not really one for sword swinging and all that sort of thing. Think you should work on it. Glancing at the mouth of the cave, Alan warns you to take care of its gloomy depths. He tells you that he's not certain how many armored scavengers infest the lair, though he knows for certain there are at least 4 of the horrid creatures. When you tell them that you explored the cave and that you're confident you'll be able to recover both the book and his missing pack, he smiles and says that he'll be waiting in the nearby town of North Oak. He then provides you with a rough description of the town's location. After meeting him in another shoulder cross, you bid the young man farewell and he departs, leaving you alone in front of a forbidding vine-entangled mouth of the cave. You're standing in the thick forest of the northeast of Tar Lake before the dark, forbidding vine-entangled mouth of the cave. As you gaze into the inky gloom beyond the cave mouth, your thoughts fall back upon the book and the missing pack that lies somewhere in its depths. You remain confident that you'll be able to retrieve these items for long. Okay, reached. Suddenly, you hurriedly draw yourself into a combat race. Stands as a group of armored scavengers burst out of the gloom ahead. The deadly punches immediately swarm along the passage, their long curved horns dusting wildly as they bear down on you. Quick combat. You step away from the oozing rays of the armored scavenger, prepare to engage the next of the deadly insects. Quick combat. And finalmente. That's cool. You step away from the maze of the slain armored scavenger and wipe away the stream of sweat spilling from your brow. Thankfully, you survive the encounter with the fearsome insects. You quickly check over your gear before once again setting off through the cave. The central decay wafts along the twisting tunnels that delve into the gloom-filled heart of the cave. Delightful. I'm gonna leave the door open. I'm gonna leave the door open. Okay. Let's see what's north first. Oh, they both go in this direction. Is one of them a dead end? Yes, suddenly more armored bugs. Can't you see him exploring right now? Devil bugs. Well, there's definitely more than 4. There's 7 so far. No, it just comes around. Without warning, a large grey-shelled beetle appears just ahead of you. At the edge of your invading light, the hideous creature, a long curved horn protruding from its flattened head, immediately starts towards you. Fully adopt a defensive stance as you prepare to engage the fearless predator. And now he's dead, so shoulda mind your business. Right, shoulda mind your business. Yeah, we good on that. Let's see what's this way. Alright, fine, we're down here, we might as well see what's on the bottom. That warning, a large gray-scaled beetle appears. Yes, another. And another one. Right. This must be getting there because every step I take, hey. There will be there every little step I take. Be together. Alright, let's see what's the other way since this seems so bug infested. Sure, there's a dead end up here. No, there isn't. Wow. There is. I don't want to miss anything. I don't want him to pump me back out of here. A stone chest sits in the back wall of that wide alcove. The chest is open and empty. No kidding. Without warning, a large grey shell beetle appears. Alright. I think this must be the end, so let's go and see what's the other way. Come on, then. Leave it be. Leave it be. Suddenly. Finally. Is my water. Me thirsty. I like to see when it says the enemy is unable to attack this round. Alright, you're standing in a small bone-littered chamber at the north end of the cave tunnel. The bones of several animals, including the skulls of 2 ogres, lie strewn on the uneven floor. You notice several items amongst the bones. Let's check it out. Oh, money. Must take what you want from this location now, as the items no longer be available once you move away from here. Am I super incumbent? No. Fine. Hand them over. Give. And we can sell it. And money. Alright, so just some goodies was in there. See, I told you the other way was the end. Let's get back that way. Death to the heathens. We under attack. Alright, let's check this way first. We're standing in the edge of a cave tunnel on the western side of a wide, dark pool. From somewhere far to the east, beyond the reaching of light, you hear the telltale trickle of flowing water. Suddenly, hey! Your eyes suddenly draw down and are right there, resting at the edge of the pool. Only inches from the water is a small, thin book with a leather cover. Only a few feet from the book is a tattered strap. Partially submerged in the pool is a small cloth pack. Realizing that you found both islands, pack of the book, you promptly take possession of both items. After securing the book and pack amongst your other belongings, you prepare to make your way out of the cave. Suddenly, yep, here's the 4 that attacked him, I guess. He's dead. And finalmente dead. As you step back from the remains of the deadly insects, your horrified gaze draws to a tunnel mouth to the west. Surging towards you out of the shadows, its horn wildly thrust in the air as a massive armored scavenger. With unnerving speed, the massive armored scavenger bears down on you, its long curved horn thrusting wildly in the air. With no time to prepare to engage the fearsome creature, you attempt to dodge its deadly charge. You leap nimbly to the side, narrowly dodging the armored scavenger's charge. The shell predator immediately spins around and attacks, thrusts at you with its deadly horn. Oh, now he's dead. The massive armored scavenger lies dead at your feet. You step back from the oozing remains of the grey shell terror and exhale sharply. It's at this precise moment, at the corner of your eye, you spot the second of the giant predators. What? You spin to your left and draw yourself into a defensive stance as the second massive armored scavenger surges out of the shadows. The fearsome creature is nearly upon you when it suddenly rears up in front of its legs and topples over its back. The beetle writhes out in apparent agony for several minutes before succumbing to a final shudders of death. You immediately spot a lone arrow protruding from the side of the beetle's grey shell. Are you quite alright? She's a vibrant from somewhere in the deep gloom, cloaked in the mouth of the tunnel. I'll be right over there, just wait a moment. Yes, just taking things away. Here I come. Seconds later, a tall, brightly attired man with braided golden beard dips to his belt, strides out of the darkness. A bow slung over his shoulder, and his sizable hand is clasped to the hilt of a sheathed longsword. He smiles and asks if you're hurt. No, nothing but a few scrapes, perhaps, he says, having done little more than glance over you. How's that you're for a timely arrival? I didn't think I'd get him with just one shot, but that's how it happens sometimes. Why that I've been meaning to clear out these pests and must shamefully admit that I'm rather dismayed to find someone that beat me to it. Well done, though. It's not every day you can find someone brave enough to step into a hive of these things. Hive? Perhaps I've oversaid it. Well, nonetheless. The bearded man introduces himself as Corin and tells you that he's long hunted the region surrounding Tar Lake, and though he's quick to admit that he avoids getting too close to the lake itself. I've heard tales about what stirs in the muddy old bog, he says, frowning. I've no desire to see it, but there's plenty of game about these parts. If you know where to look, if you don't mind, I'd like to shell these ugly things to take their home. There's just a bit of gold, small bit of gold to be had for them. Not much mind, but someone like me is quite enough. You give your consent to Corin. He smiles and initiates your shoulder calls. Corin tells you that he believes that there are still some scavengers looking about the cave. He asks if you would like him to clear them out. I'll happily do it, he says, but if you want them for yourself, for some reason, I won't argue for it. No, you can go ahead. Corin nods and pats the pommel of his sheathed sword. They consider them vanquished, she says, smirking. Now, if you will be kind enough to give me your pardon, I'll set right to it. You thank Corin, and in return, he thanks you for allowing him to collect the shells and horns of the armored scavengers. As Corin begins addressing the slain beaters strewn about the edge of the pool, you bid him farewell and head off to the west and easily make your way out of the cave. Oh, I know it's this way. Nothing. Charlie's was here. Something has been carved into the wall in this section of the cave tunnel. On close look, you discover where Tally's was here, chiseled into the damp stone. That's hilarious. What's Tally doing in here? Is this his book? Good questions. Let's leave though. We're gonna go straight. Yeah. What you doing? Where you at? You got plans? Leave. Once outside the cave, you decide to make your way to North Oak, the town mentioned to you by Arlan, the young man of whom you retrieved the book and pack. As you're about to head off to the forest and search for the road that leads you to North Oak, Corin emerges from the cave. The tall bearded man salutes you with a friendly wave and strides up to meet you in the shoulder calls. Well, my work is almost done, he says, sitting down a large rattle sack full of armored scavengers, shells, and horns. I wouldn't suggest you get too close to this heap. It's got quite a cinch to it. It doesn't really bother me. I suppose I'm just accustomed to it. And to worse. You spend a few minutes conversing with Corin. He tells you that he's still got a few beetle carcasses to dress, though he hopes to get done long before nightfall. The wild's no place to be when the sun disappears, he said, his tone decidedly ominous. Of course, you know that. That's particularly true, mind, when you're near someplace, well, a place like Tarlik. You ask Corin if he knows of North Oak and are surprised to learn that it's the town from which he hails. When he asks if he knows Alan, he frowns and rolls his eyes. What's that scamp been up to now? He was in the cave? That's a very interesting story. He finds his way into all kinds of trouble, does our Arlen. Nothing very serious, man, but trouble all the same. He's less than a fellow, though. When Corin tells you how to best reach North Oak from here, you startled to discover that his directions are quite different and much simpler than they were given you by Alan. The path Corin lays out for you completely avoids a narrow veil through which Arlen had directed you. He tells you that you should reach the town before dusk. You thank him and bid him farewell, wishing him luck as he prepares to venture back into the cave to complete his labours. You can tell young Arlan that he needs to keep his nose out of these kind of places. He calls you as he enters the cave. Tell him that I'll have words with him when I get back. And with that, Corin disappears into the mouth of the cave. After spending a few moments to gather your bearings, you set off for North Oak. Late afternoon finds you seated comfortably at the table of Alan's modest dwelling in the outskirts of North Oak. The young man, who still seems bothered by the wounds he received in his ill-fated adventure in the cave, has insisted that you stay for supper. Telling you that in addition to his skill with locks, something he previously mentioned, he's a skilled cook. I don't mind saying it, even if it sounds forward, he says, placing a steaming roll of venison stew before you. Are you fond of leeks? I'm not particularly fond of them, but they go very nicely in the stew, and there are quite a lot of them in there. As you can see, yes, that smells wonderful. Upon your arrival in North Oak less than an hour ago, you make an inquiry at the town smithy and were directed to Arlen's house, a squat stone-walled structure atop which sits a roof that looks as if it might have collapsed at any moment. Arlen was thrilled when you present him with the pack of the book and promptly locked the journal in the chest next to the fireplace. Then, before asking you to stay and dine, he presents you with 500 gold tokens. That's your share for what I'm going to get for the book, he says, smiling. I hope the whole affair didn't prove too difficult for you. I know what you were up to against them there. I only wish I had known the same before I set foot in that cave. After a third helping of Alan's mouth-watering stew, whilst saving from the mug of paleo he placed before you, asked your somewhat enigmatic host about the book you recovered. Yes, the book, he mutters, prolonging the last words as if effort to formulate what he's about to say next. I'm certain you looked at it. Yes, all the pages are empty. Of course, that's not quite true. Empty to you or me, or to anyone else for that matter, but not to the man whose journal it is. It's the property of a spellcaster, a very renowned spellcaster. He calls it the Book of Secrets, so I've been told. What those secrets are, I don't know. In fact, I'm just as glad not to know. Alon tells you that tomorrow he will embark on a journey to Salinas in the capital. He will present the book to a man who will ultimately deliver to the mage in question. Alon fixes you with a quizzical stare, then, as if suddenly mindful of his leering, he quickly averts his gaze to the window for a few moments before again settling his eyes upon you. So, then, life of an adventurer, he says at last, taking an unusually loud sip of palo. I envy you, you know. There's a lot I could do with courage and skill like yours. Does it ever grow tiresome? No, I suppose it wouldn't. Well, who knows? Our paths may again cross together some day. Maybe we'll be able to help each other out. There's a great opportunity about it if you know where to look for them. You mention your meeting with Corwin. The young man seems momentarily taken aback, and then shrugs and tells you that Corwin is considered odd by most folk in North Oak. I don't pay him much mind, he says, shaking his head. He's usually running about collecting one strange thing or another. Yes, a bit odd is how I would describe him. You spend the next small while conversing with Arlan before politely bidding farewell and setting off on your way. He sees you to the door and waves as you depart. Despite the encouraging dust, you find yourself with no desire to linger in North Oak. The strange and unsettling feeling seems to suggest that neither Arlan nor the town itself may be entirely what they seem. Your suspicion, which serves to hasten your step, does not diminish until you're well along the road heading out of North Oak. Okay. So, an interesting town. That's me. I'm good. I'm going that way right now. Tannenwood. The ruins of Tannen. Combat intensive skill scenario that can be played more than once. The objective is to investigate the temple and clear it out of wicked creatures that have seemed fit to inhabit it. All the enemies you'll face in this scenario have been scaled to provide equal difficulty and maximum raw, so eventually raw skill. Be careful in there. In the thick of Tannenwood, south and east of the city of Salinas, are the ruins of an ancient temple of Tannen. Built over 1,000 years ago in honor of Sryth, the All-Father, the temple has long since been abandoned by his followers and has fallen into decay and ruin. Much of the grand outer wall of the stone that surrounded that were once lush gardens has collapsed into a pile of moss-covered rubble. For many years it's been known that Cesaro, other creatures are often use ruined temples of their own wicked purposes. Indeed, there is such signs of vicious reptilians in and about the area. I think that'll be a long thing that I don't want to do right now, so did to Linus. Sage Hope. Let's Sage Hope. An unexpected encounter. While travelling by the ruins of Tannen, destined for Sage Hope, discovered a band of rugged highwaymen. Really? Highwaymen? There's something vaguely unsettling about the bold demeanour of the band of 5 highwaymen that have ridden in your path. What is obviously attempt to waylay you. The leader of the rugged group moves to the front of the company and regards you with a solemn nod. He promptly orders you to pay him tribute in an amount of 50 gold so that you may be afforded safe passage to the region. Suddenly your eyes drawn to the man leather waistcoat. 3 diagonal marks have scratched across the breadth of his worn leather armor. It is the unmistakable symbol of Han Longaxe. You realize immediately the bandits are in league with a notorious outlaw. I'm not paying you any money. Your bold refusal angers the bandit leader. The scowling brigand quickly displays the 3 diagonal marks scratched on the breast of his leather waistcoat, as if the symbol was searching and still feeling. Don't you recognize the mark of Han Longaxe? He says. You should show wisdom to pay us what we're owed. Nah. Your second refusal elicited a hail of curses from the leader of highwaymen. He orders his 4 men to dispatch you without delay. The 4 mounted robbers move into attack. Death. The mounted horsemen, highwaymen, slumped forward and then toppled from saddles, landing in a bloody heap at the foot of his horse. You quickly engage the next of the rugged brigands. Alright. And the next one. When the leader of the rugged brigands remained, he turned to confront the leader of the bandits, only discovered the cowardly brigand has taken flight. As the fleeing brigand disappears from view, you conclude that you will have to contend with him now. You will have to be content to let him go. Despite his escape, you take comfort in knowing that this particular man of things will no longer plague this region. Alvari artifact, baby. Not far from the scene of the attack, you discover the camp used by the band of brigands, and a quick search on the site turns up the following. 19 gold. Who are they getting paid than 50? Nobody, apparently. With no sign of any more highwaymen in the immediate vicinity, you spend a few moments checking over your equipment before once again resuming your journey. Okay, I'm in Sage Hole. Nestled at the edge of the ancient forest known as the Blustering Wood, originally named Redbourne Forest, the village of Sage Hole is in many respects a dreary, cheerless sort of place. Dreary, cheerless, okay. For the past 2 centuries, the inhabitants of Sage Hole have remained convinced that their village and the surrounding area is cursed and home to savage beasts of legend known to all as the Red Wolf of Sage Hole. While making your way into the village, you encounter a lone rider headed north on the winding woodland road that eventually leads to Talinas. He stops and tells you to think twice before you decide to set foot in Sage Hole. When you ask him the meaning behind the warning, he draws his skittish maw to a halt, and his face adopts a somber, almost grim look. "I'm not much for places like this," he says, looking back over his shoulder in the outskirts of the woodside settlement. "Not a friendly one in the entire lot. Had my own affairs not brought me so nearby, I'd have ridden up an extra mile or 2 to make clear of it. I've heard the old tales about the Red Wolf of Sage Hole, but it seems to me that these folks put more faith in such things than might be wise." You ask the man what he means, and he tells you that the entire village seems to have devoted itself to warding off the curse of the Red Wolf, and the mission he has made it an eerie and quite unfriendly place. "You'll go back how you came, turn worse," he says. "At least that's my bit of kindly advice. Fare thee well, friend." You bid the man farewell and watch as he resumes his ride north, and when you're no longer in sight, you turn and continue into the heart of the village. You don't tell me what to do. The Red Wolf of Sage Hole. The Red Wolf of Sage Hole is the name given to the savage 2-legged wolf creature that is supposed alter ego of Tal'Daris Redbourne. It is believed that Tal'Daris was afflicted by some form of lycanthropy nearly 100 years ago. The legend of the Red Wolf of Sage Hole centers around Tal'Daris Redbourne and the Tissian village of Sage Hole. Okay, who's this guy? Well, much of what passes of the history of the Tissian farmer known as Tal'Daris Redbourne is commonly believed to be the stuff of legend and folklore. There are many, particularly the citizens of his former village, who believe in his curse and in the Red Wolf of Sage Hole. So it's a werewolf. As the story goes, Tal'Daris was a farmer who owned and worked several large plots of land east of the village of Sage Hole and a small settlement south of Talinas over 100 years ago. It is said that on a cold autumn night, Tal'Daris came face to face with the horrid 2-legged wolf-like creature at the edge of the forest that was named after his grandfather, Redbourne Forest. Tal'Daris fled and survived the encounter, but not before a creature raked him with his steel-hard claws. After that night, people in and about the village of Sage Hole began disappearing, and all 12 people vanished, and not one of them has ever been seen again. It is an account of a young boy that led the citizens of Sage Hole to the gates of Redbourne Manor, where Tal'Daris lived alone. His accuser, the lad of the village, said he had seen Tal'Daris change form into a large savage wolf creature and carry off one of the missing villagers, Crim Starband, into the forest. Tal'Daris pleaded for mercy and attempted to refute the boy's claims, but he was taken into custody and hanged 6 days later in the village square. His body was burned and his ashes were scattered in the forest, which promptly renamed the Blustering Wood. Ever since his death, accounts of Tal'Daris still prowling the forest around Sage Hole in the form of a large wolf creature have become part of the local folklore, have given rise to a legend of the curse of Tal'Daris Redbourne and the Red Wolf of Sage Hole. It is believed that Tal'Daris seeks revenge against the descendants of the village who condemned him to death a century ago. So a ghost werewolf. Okay, well, we're coming upon the end of the episode. So I think we're going to leave it off here to next time to have an exploration of this area, see what's going on, see if we can figure some things out. But hey, thanks so much for hanging out and joining me. Until next time, you know what I'm going to say. Peace.